Good morning, lovelies. One of the hardest parts of being a writer is letting other people read your work, even or especially if that is ultimately the goal. The reason that this is so hard is that we are inherently afraid of criticism. All of us. And this is especially for a piece of art that we have poured not just time and energy into, but also a piece of ourselves. Writing is very personal, even if it is for profit. And having the end result be picked apart by internet credits can hurt like a bitch. Or even before that, friends, family, critique partners, beta readers, literary agents, and editors, that is a lot of people telling you what you did wrong. But criticism is the best way to grow as a writer. You can only grow so far on your own. And if you want to be a career author, or even just a published one, you're going to need to learn how to handle criticism and use it to improve your writing. Also, the whole point of recruiting beta readers and critique partners before you publish your story is to have people point out your mistakes and criticize the work while you have time to fix it before publication. And yet, some authors don't seem to understand that asking people to critique your work leads to criticism. And then they handle that criticism very poorly. So today I am giving 5 tips on how to handle constructive criticism for your novel. Number 1, before showing your manuscript to anyone, understand that not everyone is going to like it. Writing is almost completely subjective. Stephen King, Neil Gaiman, and N.K. Jemisin are considered 3 of the greatest authors of our time, and I don't like any of their books. I have tried to read them, okay, multiple times, but I can't stand any of their writing styles. I can never get past Act 1. I do like it when their stuff turns into movies. Coraline is one of my favorite animated films of all time. And I'm sure that there are plenty of authors that I adore, Rick Riordan, Nnedi Okorafor, C.L. Polk, that some of you just can't stand for whatever reason. Just because you or I don't like some of these writers does not mean that they're bad. And just because someone does not like your work does not mean that you're a bad writer. The key is to find your specific audience that is more likely to enjoy your work. A personal example, my target audience would be people, mostly women aged 17 to 25, that want to see more diversity in their shelves. They want happy endings, but they understand that there is significant darkness in the world and that won't be easily overcome. They enjoy speculative fiction, that is science fiction, fantasy, horror, and they are as sick of shallow, unnecessary romantic subplots as I am. But even with that target audience, not every single person in that demographic is going to like your work specifically, and that's fine. It's sales, all right? It's a numbers game, and not even the best writers are going to hit a majority of their demographic. That's just how it works. Number 2, on a related note, you are going to get conflicting feedback, so take notes. Taking notes is a good idea anyway, because then you don't have to worry about remembering everything that everyone said about your work. You've got it written down so you can look back on it later. Some readers are going to love, say, the pacing of your story. Others are going to say it's too fast or too slow. Some readers will hate a certain character. Others will love or at least sympathize with them. Again, you are never going to please everyone, but generally speaking, if 2 or more people are telling you that something specific in your work is a problem, then it's probably a problem and you need to try to fix it. For me, the culprit is usually not giving enough descriptions throughout the book. I am way too focused on dialogue and action, so I have to consciously slow down a bit and remind the reader of what everyone and everything looks like so they don't get totally lost. Number 3, try to emotionally distance yourself from your manuscript before sending it out. Okay, so you know when you're cleaning the house or the apartment where you grew up and you stumble upon, say, a drawing that you did in kindergarten, and it is absolutely terrible because 5-year-olds don't have the fine motor skills capable of making the Mona Lisa. Even if you're fond of the drawing and what it represents, you're able to tell that it is objectively bad and laugh at it as an adult or even a teenager. Whereas if someone had told you at that age that your drawing was bad, you would have burst out crying. We're working with the same basic principle here. Time is the best way to emotionally distance yourself from your manuscript. When you have that distance, it will be much easier for you to viciously tear your story apart and rebuild it into something better. You gotta kill your darlings. This is why I usually ask for my beta readers and critique partners to have feedback for me a month after I give them the manuscript. There is a bird and it keeps interrupting me Very rude. That month will be spent working on other projects and doing my best to forget about this specific story, and that gives me enough emotional distance that when I get the feedback, it's easier for me to read through it without feeling glum or down about myself or my skill as a writer. Number 4, understand that critiques on your writing are not a personal attack against you. Even if you are truly the worst writer in the world, and spoiler alert, you are not, that does not mean that you're a bad person. It just means that, like everyone else, you've got room for improvement. This one can be hard to remember, especially if you're receiving criticism from sensitivity readers. Sensitivity readers are people from a specific minority group that read your work in progress with the intention of critiquing how well you're representing that group. So if one of your main characters is black, then black sensitivity readers will tell you if you're accidentally doing a racism much more easily than white readers. Or if a major character is LGBTQIA+, sensitivity readers from that community will help you avoid harmful portrayals. Or in Citadel's case, my main character Olivia is autistic, so I asked a bunch of autistic people to read the work and tell me anything and everything that I got wrong in that portrayal. We, at least here in America, are living in a culture where if someone points out that we're acting in a racist or sexist or homophobic or whatever manner, it feels like a personal attack, even if it isn't. We are taught that such behavior is wrong, and it is, and is only ever done by bad people who are consciously racist or sexist or homophobic, which is not true. While there is overlap, there is a difference between a person's behavior and the person themselves. People make mistakes. People in majority or privileged social groups have blinders on that make it very difficult to see that we are acting or speaking in offensive ways unless someone is pointing it out to us. People in privileged social groups are raised to have those blinders on and ignore ongoing social problems. We are blissfully unaware of our prejudices and assumptions until we run face first into reality, usually very painfully. What I'm trying to say is that if you, for example, write a character of color or a beta or a sensitivity reader says it is done in a racist way, they are not necessarily calling you a bad person or even a racist. You probably did not write the character that way on purpose. You might have even gone out of your way to try to avoid racist stereotypes that you did know about and ironically overcorrected into other racist stereotypes. It doesn't matter, okay? The criticism is going to hurt. You are going to feel every single word bruise your ego like a hockey puck to the teeth. Resist the urge to tune it out. Resist the urge to get defensive. Ask clarifying questions if you have to. And then figure out how to use that criticism to revise your novel. I had to do this very recently with a dark fantasy novel tentatively titled The Necromancer. It is still in its work in progress phase. I haven't even let my agent see it yet, which is a good thing because this is the time when I want people, my beta readers and critique partners, to tell me when I'm accidentally doing this shit so I can fix it. Just when you think you've managed to scrub all that internalized racism out of your life, it pops back up like the world's worst jack-in-the-box ever. So yeah, criticism on your work is not necessarily a personal attack. Unless, of course, the beta reader or critique partner is personally attacking you. If they are actually insulting your personality rather than your work, or even being outright emotionally abusive, you are well within your rights to ghost that bitch. And number 5, do not attack the person critiquing you. Did they miss the pretty obvious foreshadowing in Chapter 3 that would have made the twist in Chapter 12 a lot more believable? Did they misinterpret your theme? Did they just not jive with the novel? Too bad, you do not get to attack them or insult their intelligence, especially if they took valuable time out of their schedules to read your work in progress and offer useful feedback for free. Yes, it could be simple reader error. People miss stuff and make mistakes. But it is more likely that you made a writing mistake and did not communicate your foreshadowing or your theme clearly enough. And that's good criticism! Now you know what to do for the revisions! If you assume personal responsibility for that miscommunication, then that gives you the power to fix it in a later draft. And you'll be much happier with yourself because you're giving yourself the power to change things and improve your manuscript rather than giving that power to someone else. In a word, don't be an asshole. You'll thank yourself later. Those are my 5 tips on how to handle criticism for your novel. Please share your tips and experiences in the comments below. And if you're a writer who wants to put this video to the test and you have a manuscript that you need honest constructive criticism on, I offer professional manuscript critiques. So check out my website, it's in the description. I will see you next time. Bye, lovelies.